My name's Andrew Belle, and I'm a singer-songwriter from Chicago, Illinois. I started playing in bands and writing songs in college. I was going to school for business and sort of like playing shows and playing in bands on the weekends and at night and stuff like that. And towards the end of school, like my graduation was approaching and my roommates and friends were getting jobs and internships and things like that. And I don't know, I just wasn't interested in that at all. And the only thing I was really passionate about was songwriting and writing and recording music. And so I solicited a friend of mine who was sort of getting into audio engineering at school, and he had offered to make an album with me. So I asked him if he would be willing to, spend the summer with me making a record, my first record, and so we did. And then I moved back home after school. I graduated with a business degree, but I moved back home and started waiting tables and playing in bars and restaurants and coffee shops and open mics and things like that. And so I just did that for probably 2 years with a lot in between there, obviously. But eventually was able to quit waiting tables. Started finding a lot of full-time gigs around the city of Chicago where I could perform. I would do cover songs, for tips and stuff like that, I usually don't like to just write songs, just one-off songs. Like when I'm making a record, I like the idea of, making something that's, quasi-conceptual and something that kind of is cohesive. This record, a lot of sort of has taken place in the last 4 years since my second record, Black Bear. I had gotten married. My wife and I, we moved across country to Los Angeles. We had a baby out there. So my life has changed drastically in a lot of real ways. And so I guess as I've gotten older, I've found that it's become harder and harder for me to take risks and to take chances and to make harder decisions. I think in my 20s it was easier to do that because there wasn't as much to lose. There wasn't as much at stake. And as I get older and now I have a family and I have a music career to hopefully sustain, every decision it seems like it just means more. And so I found myself just being paralyzed by indecision and kind of afraid to take leaps, and things like that. And so when it came to should we start a family and should we move to Los Angeles like we've always wanted to, things like that, those were tricky decisions to make. And so a lot of the songs in this record kind of revolve around that season of my life where I wasn't really sure what the right thing was to do, and I found myself kind of like, paralyzed by that. And eventually I kind of just realized that, a lot of the best things in my life have come from taking a leap, or taking a chance when you weren't really sure what was going to happen. And sometimes you fail and you kind of course correct your life from there. But so this record, the theme of this record revolves around a lot of that kind of thing. This is my Well, that's probably it probably explains why it takes, like, there's so much time in between my records. I know what you mean. I mean, that's a very real thing to kind of my first record, for example, The Ladder, was by relative standards was pretty successful and got a lot of television licensing happening from that, and got a lot of things going from that. And so when I put out my second record, I was nervous that maybe the songs wouldn't be as strong. And then I put out that record, and that actually seemed to eclipse the first record, and has become really special to me and to seemingly a lot of other people. And so then I was nervous then to try again and take another chance and making a third record, and would that be as good as how can I now live up to the second one? And I don't know, honestly. I try not to think too hard about that. I tried to just remind myself to continue to do what got me to that place in the first place, which was when I'm writing songs, to write songs that resonate with me, like to not just kind of like if something is okay but not great, to not just like let it slide. I would, if something was okay but not great, then I would just scrap it and start over and write a new song, and so that's something I've always done. Is I don't really finish a song unless it feels special to me, or something's resonating about it with me. And so I've been trusting my gut and trying not to overthink it at the same time. I don't even know what the name of this, whatever type of therapy it is, where you just face your fears by like just throwing yourself right into the fire. That's really the only way. And I still get kind of anxious or nervous or whatever. It's nice on tour though, when you play show after show after show, and it becomes almost like second nature. And you start to get into a good rhythm. But honestly, I still to this day don't feel 100% comfortable on stage, but I feel like light years ahead of where I was when I first began. And that's just because, like I said, there was no alternative. It's just like, well, and maybe it's stubbornness, just being like, I know that I can figure this out. I know that I can learn. It's a learned skill to like sing in front of people and calm your nerves so that you can sing properly in front of people. And one thing I have learned to do though is just to slow down. I feel like I think everybody can relate to this when you got all that nervous energy and you're just talking very fast and it feels slow to you, but you're like going a mile a minute. And that's one thing I've been trying to do, is just slow it down. But it's taken a while. It's taken 10 years, and I still feel like I have a long way to go. I think, especially in the early days, it's easy to be really short-sighted on everything, especially like when it comes to like going out on the road, like and bringing bringing people out on the road with you, and you're touring and stuff, and I guess I think in the early days I was just really anxious and kind of like short-sighted about a lot of stuff, and I wish somebody would kind of have, I don't know what the advice would have been exactly, but I wish I could have just at least had that perspective to know that I mean, like for example, a friend of mine told me recently, he said to me, he's like, I probably don't have as much money as I could have right now, because I've been really generous with like my songwriting, letting people into that process, or really generous in the deals that I've made from a business standpoint in music. But he's like, so I might not have as much money as I should have, but I have a lot of friends, and not that I don't have a lot. I haven't burned any bridges or anything like that, but I feel like there's probably seasons here and there where like I could have been more generous or something, and I feel like I heard that recently. I thought, man, that's how I'd like to be, or at least be known. So, yeah.